Grand Rising loves. This is the altar spread for the collective today. And so the sacred geometry that showed up today is Mayan Dream. And that's about the spiral. This was a beautiful gift from a friend who hiked to a very high place and found this and brought it back for me. Makes me feel special. And it's such a beautiful gift and so many things that are unknown, right? So Mayan Dream talks about dream time. And dream time is very important part of my practice. When I was in my early 20s, I want to say 22, 23, I had an Aboriginal spirit come to me, and he told me to purposely wake myself early and go back to sleep. And in that sleep would be dream time, and that spirit would talk to me. And so at that time, I mean, this is more than 2 decades ago, I would set an alarm to get up early and then go back to sleep. And now my body just naturally does it. But that's really the only time that I dream is in that short sleep, which is maybe an hour, 2 hours, sometimes 3. But I feel more rested in that sleep than I usually do in the entire night. I think I do a whole lot of astral work in the nighttime. And I don't think I spend a whole lot of time in my body, but dream time is always very powerful for me. And I didn't even know that was a thing. Every message that Spirit has ever given me since I was a little girl, I listen, I heed it, and that's been my existence. And it was 2 years ago that was finally validated, that was actually a thing. I had no idea that was a thing. I had the language for it, and I had the knowledge until I met a shaman from Australia and told me that, yes, that's actually something that the elders and the chiefs of the tribes do, is they wake themselves early and go back to sleep. And that in that dream time, those are the messages that they get to move forward. And it's powerful to have that validation. There's so much self-doubt and intuition because we're taught not to trust ourselves. And I've always been trusting in that aspect, I believe. But the validation's always nice to say, wow, how could I have known that as a 20-something New Yorker that has never been to Australia and living by herself in this tiny-ass apartment in Arizona, because it was shortly after I moved to Arizona. So it was powerful. Anyhow, dream time is what this card is about. Entering a dream state to get the messages, because in that state you are closer to spirit, because you are relaxed. And I always say that when I'm teaching meditation too, the more relaxed the physical body is, the more fully the soul can come into that space, because the physical body is not you. The intellect, the thoughts are not you. It's what's animating those that is you. And so when you relax those two things, those tools of the human experience, you become more yourself. And so dream time is about dropping it all so that you can connect with the macrocosm. I love that, macrocosm, because everything is energy. And so there's no such thing as an inanimate object. Just like I've talked about before, like this altar is a beautiful servant too. And we are in a partnership. And I love that. So that's what that's calling you to do. To really listen and heed the messages that you're getting. And we're coming into a completion. And this showed up upright. I love this. So completions, and if you see these, because these are synchronicities, the number 9 is the symbol of completion. Also, the circle is a symbol of completion. and a snake eating its own tail. So all of those are sacred symbols of synchronicity to pay attention to. When you come into a completion, it doesn't mean you're done, ta-da. It means you've graduated. What's next? And as long as we are still in these bodies, we are still healing. Everyone, even the great Dalai Lama. And I love this. 9 is a symbol of leveling up. And we all get to do that. And so I had just shared actually yesterday, it's not arrogant to know your rank in spirit. I know that I am further progressed than a huge percentage of people walking the earth plane. And I know that so few, I would be willing to bet less than 5% of people walking the earth can even experience the things that I experience. And I'm okay with that. But I don't think that I'm better because of it. And I definitely don't think I'm less because of it. There are other areas in my life where that ego creeps in and says those things. And it's usually in intimacy because of trauma. And so I try to keep myself out of that mindset. But in spirit, I am very confident with where I'm at. And it's okay for us to fall in and say, I am this and you're not me. And you may not even reach my level this life. But when I level up, when I reach a completion, guess what? People get to fall in and also do that. Like, it's like we're all standing in line at the DMV. And when the person in front of you moves, you're like, oh, thank God, I get to take 2 steps, right? That we're all in the fucking line together. Just because I'm in front of you doesn't mean that I'm better. We're all in line. Like, we're all waiting and we're all sweating our asses and we're all like putting in the waiting work, right? So that's what that is. And I try to explain that to people. It's not a hierarchy. If you get into the whole idea of hierarchy and perfection, that's where corruption begins. And that's why everything is fucking chaos right now. And that's why people aren't aligned, because they have these beliefs of striving for a very specific thing because they've been taught that a very specific thing is perfection. And so they're stuck in the loops, the old paradigms of trying to achieve that thing, and it's all lies. And it's sad. And I actually have great amount of compassion for that stagnant mindset. So Chris Acola showed up again. So I read this really carefully because I feel also that I'm challenged by this in those intimate spaces that I talked about, right? Like, if something is said to me, because I can feel the energy behind it, I will hold my tongue in those spaces, not in any other space, mind you. Like, I'm never more aligned than in the healing space with my clients. It's so effortless. And so that's why I know, like, part of my path this life is to heal the divine union, because that's where I'm most challenged. So speaking all the things, but I think maybe the part that I wasn't really mentioning before, because I wanted to see what have I missed, what can I share? Because I talked about every time we speak, we are teaching. We are teaching everyone around about us, our desires, our needs, who we are, our path, our purpose. We're teaching all of those things, right? But we don't think about the energetic space where that vibration begins in our spirit. So the frequency of our voice very much is affected by that. So if you think before you speak, the voice will have a very different resonance than if you just speak your heart and allow that to be more a colander than a filter. Does that make sense? Like, no editing. Really speak all the things, and your voice is different, and the resonance is different. Like, I've been told I have what's called a shaman's resonance. I don't even know what the fuck that is. All I know is that I speak all the things from the heart, and that my reach is far greater, and it's almost like a beacon. It will always draw in those who actually need to hear it, because I'm not allowing it to be polluted by ego when I speak things. And I'm even mindful in the intimate setting to do that. So I don't speak unless it's from the heart, but I do tend to hold my tongue when I feel myself retracting. So everything that comes through my voice is always from my heart. It's not any other way. I don't speak from trauma response, because I'm at a level of consciousness that I no longer do that. And those who are still doing it doesn't mean like you're shit. It just means it's time for another completion so that you can level up and not do that anymore. Because you're holding people captive when you do that. That's just the simple skinny of it. But when we are resonating from our heart, when our voice carries that frequency, that vibration, your reach is going to be greater. And it will be a beacon. It will draw to you the things that you need and the experiences for your highest good, instead of being in chaotic loops and stagnation. You'll be able to reach those completions. So going forward after this completion, just be mindful about that. Be mindful of following your heart and speaking your heart. And so the circle cross of Tenon, the rare intersection of heaven and earth, I love this. So what this talks about is that change is imminent, and we are being allowed a very rare portal opening of heaven and earth for us to draw on divine abundance and grace. And are you willing to accept it? And are you willing to be that which would be the same resonance of this? So knowing that it's available, but being that which you desire, is a huge message of Circle of Cross of Tenon. Because in this intersection, you will be cracked open in your heart space, and to not have fear and to not have doubt. And man, that fear is a bitch. And so yeah, speaking all the things and moving forward in that on your path. So the common pulse of today's spread is that moving forward, there are shifts that need to be made and adjustments that need to be made so that you can continue to level up and align. And so aligning means, like, if you're a janitor, do that with your heart. If you're a lawyer, do it with heart. Everyone has a purpose here. And when you align, there's no overlaps. So everyone has a divine purpose here. Everyone. And when you're aligned, things get to move effortlessly. Like, that's what puts us back into motion as a unity consciousness. In this duality consciousness, there's lots of stagnation. There's lots of captivity. There's lots of chaos. There's lots of deceit. There's lots of conspiracy. I mean, what are all the key words? There's lots of rage, disharmony, misalignment. And that's why. Because people aren't honoring their true path. So when you get the messages in your dream state and you're able to reach the completion, make sure that you honor those messages by speaking your heart and getting aligned, doing what you're here to do, because we are all birthed with that wisdom. Like, you are born with 100% knowledge of why you're here and what you're meant to do. And then you contract amnesia. And literally 99% of adults walking the earth have amnesia. And like I said, I'm not one of those. I was very lucky this human inception to not have that. I have other issues that I'm dealing with in this human experience, but amnesia, like forgetting who I really am, is not one. And I really believe it's my last human inception. So I've been gifted the freedom of that. And so that's my purpose here, is to help people remember who the fuck they are, to heal that amnesia. That's why I'm here, to bring them back to that zero, bring them back to that infant state before they were taught who they were supposed to be, so that they can align, because until everyone aligns, unity consciousness, it will be elusive. And that's all. So that's the spread for the day. Oh, let's not let unity be elusive. Let's speak our hearts. And anyone who's not, anyone who's afraid, I'm sorry. Please forgive me. I love you. I love you. I love you.